My name is Brian Panuzzo. I'm an executive coach that helps successful professionals get wealthy outside of the office, in their mind, their body, and their relationships. I am an expert at this because I did it myself. I sat in your seat inside of corporate America for over 2 decades. If I can do it, so can you. Welcome back to the show. I have another special episode planned for you. We're going to have another guest on. A couple weeks ago, we did the same thing. My man, Luke McCarthy, is back on the show. He is the first 3-time guest on the podcast. I wanted to have him on because he's made, for a number of reasons, he's made an incredible transformation. He continues to ascend in his life, take on new responsibilities. Since we've worked together, he's had 2 more kids. He's doubled the size of his family. He's taken on a bigger job. He's gotten way stronger, way more fit. He's about to run, or actually at the time of this recording dropping, he just ran his 6th marathon, his 5th New York City marathon, and he's only gotten better inside the office. His professional success has only continued to ascend higher. And the biggest lie that I find most professionals tell themselves is that they're too busy, that their career demands are too high, that they're not able to do all of these things, that if you ask them, hey, would you like more of this in your life? They would always, 11 times out of 10, say yes. Luke is living proof that it does not have to be that way for you. If he can do it, just like I say in the intro, if I can do it, so can you. If he can do it, so can all of us, because although he is an incredible human being, he is not special, all right? And so if he can do it, so can you. I wanted to also have him on because we talk about us working together during this particular season that we're about to enter, the holiday season, and what an incredible resource it was for him to be able to have structure, accountability, weekly programming, and a roadmap for him to be able to navigate. So sit back, relax, and check out this amazing conversation with my ex-client and incredible friend, Luke McCarthy. All right, Luke McCarthy, welcome back to the Success Lift podcast, the only 3-time guest ever. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? I'm honored. Probably my first career hat trick officially, third time on. But happy to be back.
Oh man, a Long Island guy, you gotta have more hat tricks in your life than that. Episode, I had to go look this up. Episode 6 back in September of 2020. Episode 70 back in November of 21. And then technically, I'm just thinking now, I actually had you on this little series that I did inside of my corporate wellness program, Elite Conversations. It's not exactly a podcast episode, but this is your 4th conversation with me on a Zoom call that's been recorded. So appreciate you. This is going to be episode 232. So wow. We're just every 100 or so, we're going to get you back on.
Always happy to do it. Congrats. 232 is wild.
I know, it's crazy, right? So since it's been 150-ish, 60-ish episodes, I'm doing math on the fly here. Yeah. I hope there's a lot of new people, that have never heard your voice before. A lot of people who do pay attention to me know you personally, have gotten to know you from paying attention to us. Everyone that's connected with you has said tremendous things about you. As I was just saying to you before we hit record, I am only having on guests that I've worked with in the past or are currently working with. And so we'll get into your story because we haven't worked together for a while. But watch your continued ascension is pretty damn cool. But just tell us a little bit about yourself so people who don't know get a little flavor for you.
Yeah, Luke McCarthy, 38-year-old Wall Street professional. Was younger than that when Brian and I met, and when we worked together. Father of 4, live on Long Island. About 20 miles outside the city, and as much as I love to do all the stereotypical things that Wall Street bros like to do, like, have a couple drinks and play golf and do all that stuff. I spent a lot of time investing in myself, my health, my mental health, and certainly my family. super proud of sort of the trajectory that I've taken over the last couple of years.
Awesome. You didn't have as many kids when we started working together either.
That's right.
Yeah. You've been on a tear in all areas.
Yeah. Spoker.
I guess it would be cool to give people a little bit of context, because you were just very general, and I appreciate that for time's sake. But like, we'll get into some of the changes you've made. But this recording is going to drop a day after you have run just another marathon.
Okay.
We're recording this obviously, in the past, everyone. That's how these things work. But usually there's a longer time lag in between when we record and when these come out. But I figured the timing wise was really important for a few reasons. We'll get into that. But you, as of yesterday, of the time this recording dropping, you've run, what number marathon is this for you?
It'll be 6th, and it'll be my 5th New York.
5th New York. Wow.
Yeah. New York's like a super special race for me. I'm from New York, born and raised in Westchester County. And we could do a whole podcast about the New York City Marathon, why I enjoy it so much. But really when I started to get into shape in my adult life, and what I mean by that is like when I was like 26-ish, when like I realized I couldn't just eat like I did in college and kind of get away with it. The first thing I did was sign up for a marathon, and I historically hated running, like most, prior athletes, right? Because running was always punishment. But because of that, the marathon has always kind of been like my foundation of fitness. Like I definitely like to do a bunch of other stuff, due in no small part to you, banging me over the head, telling me to lift weights if I want to look good. But running is something that I always sort of gravitated back to as sort of a centering mechanism when I wanted to feel fit again. So around the time you and I started, I always considered myself a runner, but around the time you and I started working together, I became a little bit more serious about running, because I knew it would catalyze me being a fitter person. And it was something easy, right? You talk to your clients about this a lot, like do whatever works. Like I knew it would work for me because, I knew how to do it. Like I wasn't intimidated by throwing running shoes on and going out for a run. The learning curve on the weightlifting stuff was a little steeper. Now it's second nature, but it's always kind of been something I've gone back to as a nice reminder of how good it is to take care of yourself and have fun while you're doing it.
I take credit for as many things as I can that's gone well in your life. You know that. A lot of things have. So I'll also take credit for what you've described to me as, your improved running performance, or at least a very, very small part of it due to a stronger lower body, a stronger base, just having a little balance.
I used to be allergic to squat racks during marathon training blocks. Now, like I'm hitting them 2 or 3 times a week. So
love it. So take me back. You mentioned, that you worked with me previously, and you have, but it's been quite a while, man. It's been 4 years. We're coming up on like 4-year season of when we started. I don't remember if it was October or November or whatever, but I do distinctly remember us starting in the late fall and kind of heading into the holiday season while we were working together. And so before we get into like the holiday specifics, like just take me back to October, November, the fall of 2019. And like, where were you in your life? What were you experiencing? And then ultimately, like, we could talk about why did you seek out my help?
Sure. I was just reflecting on it a little bit, prepping for this. It was October 2019, and my life was great. Like my career was awesome. My marriage was awesome. At the time I had 2 beautiful, healthy kids. Now, 4 beautiful, healthy kids. And I worked out constantly. Like I was a 5-6 day a week guy. I would run a lot. I would hit the Peloton a lot, maybe mix in like a HIIT or a Barry's workout. And I got back from a golf trip and I saw a picture of myself. And I was like, I don't look like a guy who works out 5-6 days a week. Like, what the fuck's going on? And in my like most honest moments, even though on the surface, a lot of boxes were checked career-wise, marriage-wise, etc., I knew that, there was more that I was capable of, and I was probably selling myself short. in a number of areas that, matter very much to how you feel. And if you feel good, you play good. I mean, what I mean when I say that is like, you do everything else in your life better when you feel better. So when I reached out to you, like, really, like, what I was in search of was accountability. But I didn't know how much information I needed. Like, I remember when we first started working together, you were like, okay, just log some stuff that you eat and make the do and do not list. And I remember one of the first times I made it, like, I wrote down what I was going to eat for breakfast because I thought it was healthy. And you were like, do you normally eat that for breakfast? I was like, no, I'm eating because I think it's healthy. And you were like, what do you normally eat? I was like, eggs. You're like, eggs are totally cool. Right. So like, I had to like debunk all these like random and healthy, the quote unquote healthy isms that are out there. So accountability was what I was searching for, but I got a lot of information and a lot of tools that like set the stage for me to sharpen in a lot of areas.
Man, I can't tell you how many times I talk to people now, because it's cool that my evolution in my own journey and my own recent transformation over the last several years too, right? Like, I'm now attracting more people that are closer to maybe your level of fitness, or maybe even your level of fitness, and looking to go to an even, another mentally, physically, relationally, in whatever area of their life. And it's like, everything you just said, like, it's not like they're 50 pounds overweight, which you weren't either. You certainly, needed to change your body composition a little bit,
Sure.
You needed to change habits, but they run, they Peloton, they HIIT, they Barry's, they boot camp, they celery juice, they whatever. But at the end of the day, if you ask them like just the next 6 months, what's the thing that you haven't achieved that you really truly want to achieve? And 90% of the people that I talk to would say some combination of looking way better and conversely also feeling better, with that, whether that be just energy levels, but also the confidence that comes with looking and feeling the way, you have worked to do over the last several years, and I have. And so like the alignment, and that's why, like we talk a lot, off of Zoom and off recordings.
Yeah.
Have context of why I, rail on cardio or do, like, it's so funny. Like, I'll have clients, they'll be like, hey man, I'm sorry, but I went for a couple runs this week. Like, you have to apologize. We're going for runs, dude. Like, you think, like, you cannot run. I'm like, no, it's just, it's contextual. Everything is contextual. So you understand why, but it's like, there's so many people out there. I heard on a podcast this morning, this phrase, I've heard this before, Nobel Prize syndrome, where it's like, you can actually go up, and I haven't done this yet, so don't fact check me, but you can go look up like Nobel Prize winners who obviously are incredibly smart in one particular discipline, in one area, but have bought, and believed in just complete sorcery in other areas. Effectively, there are so many smart people that you and I know that do so many fucking dumb things when it comes to things that they're not really, really good at. And so it's like everything you just said right there, man, just really resonated with like, wow, I have this multiple times.
When I was walking into a quiet space to take this Zoom to read out this convo, I walked by like maybe the smartest person I work with at my firm, and they had like a Prolon juice cleanse thing in their hand. And I know this person like is just trying to get into a little bit of shape and like hack the system. But to your point, like, he's literally probably one of the smartest people at our firm. But in terms of getting in shape, like, it's like against Prolon or whatever, like, sure, he's just trying to, hack the system. And I'm like, that's so dumb. Like, you're so smart with so many other things. Like, you could be really fit if you just applied your knowledge base onto another set of facts and paid close attention to them.
Why me? Why? I mean, I know we knew each other a little bit personally, but like, what about, what I did, what I do, what you now know, attracted you to me and my program?
Yeah, I think, and this performed as advertised, like, it was very clear to me that you sort of got it. And what I mean when I say that is like, you weren't going to program something for me that was, 60 days keto, you gotta, shock all this stuff and change all this behavior drastically. And you have to go to every client event and not drink and totally upend the way you've been doing things, because you understood that that was really impractical and that was a recipe for disaster and failure. So I knew that you had a high level of intelligence about the world I lived in and the various pressures and pulls on my time. And it made a lot of sense for me, given the transformation I had seen you make, the last couple of years you were in the business, transformation that you were able to make, with some, just some tightening around the edges and hacks and things that you applied, that it was kind of a no-brainer for me. It was kind of like, you used to be in my seat. That like a random Tuesday might require me to be at a dinner with a menu that like isn't optimal for what you and I are trying to achieve. But if we look at things and zoom out and like on a longer arc, it's a speed bump. It's not something that's going to totally derail what we had planned.
Yeah. I was just, exchanging like this LinkedIn messages with I actually used to work with this guy, and I was asking for some feedback on some stuff, and I even highlighted it because I'll probably talk about it in an email or something. It's like he wrote, "You sat in my seat, you get it." Like literally wrote those words, which I use a lot because it's true, man. It's like, it's the people that I had very, very similar jobs to. It rings very true and it resonates a lot, but also just, your typical kind of corporate American person as well. And to your point, you can't not go to the dinner on Tuesday most of the time, and you can't show up with, your prolonged juice fed shakes at the day. That could immaterially impact, business for you. And so, can you do things that you probably are telling yourself that you can't do? 100%. But is there some form of middle ground for most people most of the time? I believe there is. And it's one of the things I kind of pride myself in, being able to sort of deconstruct. Like I love when a client on a Monday or a Sunday sends me their, 3 dinners, a date night, a kid's party, and a round of golf or an event at the club. I'm like, roll up the, I wish I was wearing but now I'm allergic to sleeves, but roll up the sleeves, baby.
Yeah. I'm surprised you even know the short sleeves on.
Trying to keep it semi-professional. So, okay. So I think it's important for people to understand, like, you are at a level now, and I'd love for you to talk about your, evolution, your ascension. We only worked together for several months and made some tremendous progress, but you were nowhere near probably where you wanted to be because you kept going. And I think you'll continue to go, knowing you personally. Like, so I think it's important to just distinguish, like, you didn't get to the level that you are at now 3.5 years later, right? 6 months or 4 months or whatever after working with me. And so talk about how life is different for you right now. And then maybe just, weave in anything that's important, like that you've started, because I've seen you continue to change since we've been, since we finished our professional relationship together. We've stayed very close in contact. We talk all the time.
Yeah.
How's life different for you now?
Yes, it's probably makes sense for you to take that in a couple parts. Professionally, life is better. Since we started working together, I have what I would consider a better job for me. I'm on a better team at a better firm, and I work with more talented people that challenge me day in and day out. Along with that comes probably a longer list of, call it off the desk, after work. I don't want to call them requirements, but things you have to.
I don't mean to jump in and interrupt you, but I just did. So before I did, can you, and I don't know, this isn't an alley-oop for you to dunk it. Were you worried about you spending more time in your mental, your physical health, your family relationships? Were you worried about that negatively impacting your profession, your career?
Yeah, 100%. Like, actually, when I started, when I switched jobs, some buddies were running the marathon, a couple of mutual friends of ours. And when everyone was kind of signing up or with charities or whatever, I was like, I can't. I just like started this job. And I couldn't have been more wrong. Like I spend more time than I ever did in my career in the past 4 years I've been in my current firm on my mental, my physical, my overall wellness. And I almost kind of laugh at the sentiment I had when people in the group text were like, hey, let's do the marathon this year. I was like, I got this new job. There's no way I'm going to be able to do all this because I got to be at, the networking thing or the new client stuff or whatever. Dead wrong, obviously, but I was for sure. I was like petrified. I was like, okay, I got to put in a couple years here. I got to give away all the stuff that I had just achieved, but that's okay. That's a temporary cost. And then after a few years, I can get back into it. I was dead wrong. Like, it was, and we can probably stretch on this later. Like a lot of the things that we worked on, helped me realize like very quickly, like how foolish of a mindset that was. But back to sort of the evolution or how things change or, have changed. My kids are older and I have more of them. I have twice as many of them. So weekends, they were busy with my girls when they were young, but now they have friends. They need to be driven to parties and hangouts, and they play a bunch of sports. And my wife and I both coach. Between the two of us, we both coach everything that they do. So we can't really like skip a game or skip a practice because so we're always on, right? And if you had told me that a couple of years ago, I'd be like, yeah, I got to pull back on the on fitness stuff. But here I am still running marathons, and I squeezed a half Ironman in there too. It just takes a little bit of thought, and you find time for the stuff that you care about. And then like fitness wise, I'm a much different person. Like I much prefer, frankly, lifting weights for an hour than running for 2 hours. And I wasn't one of these people that willingly subscribed to the lift weights and walk thing. I was like, how can this possibly be a workout? I don't always sweat through my clothes. But I can tell you right now, having run 40 to 50 miles a week for the last 8 weeks, like I can't wait to get back in the weight room because I look differently now than I did when I spent January to June. I still got my runs in because it's something I like to do, but I spent a lot more time lifting, and I'm a lot smarter about like why that's, yes, like I like the way I look. I'm not one of these people that's like too proud to say that. Sure. But at the same time, like there's a lot of other benefits that I'm now smart on that have to do with, I have 4 children. Like I want to live a long time. I want to, last night I had to carry my 4-year-old up the stairs, and I was sort of grinning to myself that it wasn't a struggle, thankfully. Cause you hear all those isms like this could be the last time or whatever. And, he was asleep, and I was like, I'm, sort of psyched that I can carry him up, no problem. Right. So there's a lot of other benefits that have nothing to do with the way you look, but more so the example you set and the things you can do with your family, hopefully, God willing, for a very long time, that lifting weights is a very important input too.
Yeah. Mila had I'm up, as you know, early.
Yeah.
And I was in the kitchen at like 4:15 or 4:20 or something this morning, and I heard her door open and her go right into, our bed. And sometimes she just wakes up, and other times she like had a nightmare or something. So she had some sort of like bad dream or something. And so her and Tasha were talking when they were in bed, when I just kind of walked in just to check in, and I whispered, I was like, are you all right? She's like, yeah. I'm like, you need me to beat anybody up? And she started smiling and laughing. She's like, no, I'm okay. So, just, I always like to remind her that if she needs any of the muscle, that I'm here.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So to review, you doubled the size of your family.
Yeah.
We got a bigger job with more requirements, either in the office or around, as we know, big jobs typically require. You coach every game. You coach every team between you and your wife. You're fitter now because you've continued to do the things that you're doing, and you're running your 5th New York, your 6th marathon, and overall, you would say work is better in the last 3 years.
Agreed, Bill.
you're some unicorn, man. I can't, this is not possible. It's not possible. Well, when two average athletes, just throw alley-oop and dunk on somebody. I like that. I like that.
That's the irony of this whole thing. Like I'm like the most vanilla normal, like, like anyone who knows my wife and I as a couple, like know what a tremendous athlete she is very naturally. You and I have joked about, like, she throws a tighter spiral than I do. She goes out on the golf course once every 18 months and drives the ball like she's a scratch handicap. And, I'm still fighting the same slice I've had for 12 years, right? I'm just the regular normal guy that just like found some, systems and hacks and worked really hard and consistently. And it works for me. Everyone has their own circumstances. It's just the fact that it's just a game of, finding what works for you.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. I mean, I think that would be how a lot of us, review and present our career success. Is
Sure.
Nothing super special about me. Certainly me. I can't, I probably can. I know you well enough to speak for you, but I can't speak for everybody who may come across this. But I think most people would be like, "Fuck yeah, I worked hard at this." Like, yeah, nothing was given to me. Yeah, like I had I went to an average college. I didn't have like any, advanced like degrees or whatever. Like, and I just made it happen. I got into a good seat and I took advantage of the opportunity and I never looked back. And yet, when it comes to other areas of our life, we prolong, fast it, juice it. We do this, we do that. Man, that's great. I love that. So I wanted to do this now because we are approaching the holiday season. And while that is a roadblock for a lot of people, it's absolutely a big focus for people in my old world, in your world, in our world, right? Because of the demands that we have with entertaining, going to different events, also having everything personally that we do between our families and our friends and meeting up with high school and college buddies for that boozy lunch at Bobby Van's or something like that, right? Like, still miss that Smith and Wally's one that I would do, like all the things, right? So, and we didn't like, you definitely, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't start this because of that. And you mentioned to me while we were in it, but I think looking back after we got out of it, you were pretty adamant. My words, not yours. So correct me, please. You were pretty adamant that, like, thank God you had this resource, you had this structure, you had the accountability, you had the weekly game plan during this season, because, you would have fell back into typically what I did and most of us do, which is, kind of slowly drown in 3 to 4 social engagements a week and constant things that we don't normally want to consume. And then, we pick our heads up and it's January 1st and we decide to do dry January type of thing.
Right.
So talk to me a little bit about working with me during the holiday season. How did it specifically help you, and anything else you want to share?
Yeah. To use like the finance analogy or business analogy, when we worked together during the holidays, like, it, like, quote unquote, stress tested the model, right? Like, in any given week in a non-holiday time when we were working together, maybe I had like a Nick game, or I had, a date night or whatever, something that was like quite easy to just plan around and make that, the one day where we don't have to spend a ton of time paying attention to meal tracking or whatever it was. Like, during the holidays, like, I was on, 4 nights a week. So in hindsight, it was a perfect stress test for the model, because, like, if I can make it work and sustain all this good stuff that I'm learning and gaining throughout, like, the most hectic time of my work calendar and my personal social calendar, then it's going to be very easy to do it. Or I shouldn't say easy. It should be way easier to do it when I don't have 4, things a week, which is, obviously for most people, or some people, the norm. So it was a very, like, not that I doubted it, but it was a very important, like, step in terms of proof of concept, both in terms of like, hey, this works and I can still get like a micro workout in before the party. And it also proved a lot to myself that once I was committed to having self-control, it was pretty easy to have self-control. Like if I go into an event with a rough plan about how I'm going to behave and I behave that way, you feel really good because you're not super hungover the next day, but you feel really good because you honored a commitment that you made to yourself versus just going into the cocktail party and winging it and then being like, oh shit, it's 11. I got to call an Uber, right? Tell your home, your wife you're going to be home at 8:30 and you have 2 drinks and you don't touch the slider tray that passes you 8 times. It's pretty simple.
I knew you were going to talk a little bit about the X's and O's, but I didn't even think that you were going to mention your mindset around the entire season, because that is constantly it's like I now audibly sigh on the phone. It's this on a Zoom call. Oh, they're like, what? And then I come off the top rope. I'll do it when I'm not busy. I'll do it when I get out of this, crazy season that I'm in, is a belief that, like, if I could just shake the shit out of everyone and shake it out, I would. If you can do it now, you can do it anytime. And when you say that you can't do it now, and when I say now, I mean any season, any bullshit reason that you're saying you can't do things. If you are saying that to yourself, you're presupposing that as soon as life gets busy again, you're going to drop whatever you start when it is conducive,
Correct.
When the environment does set up to be, conducive for you to do these things. So it's like, and when's that going to happen? I don't know, but it's going to happen pretty soon. So when you say that to yourself, when you think that to yourself, you're automatically dinging, yourself and knocking it down that you're not going to be able to handle it when things do get busy. Conversely, when you do start, when you go through a season of your life that is incredibly busy, that is incredibly chaotic, that has high demands. And the irony is like, I forget your progress, honestly, during the month of December. I know it was good, but like, I don't know if you lost a little bit of weight or if you stayed neutral or whatever, but like, I know you distinctly came out of that with like, that was a massive win. So like the result might actually be neutral. Like we managed to be neutral for some of my clients during the month of December, because unless you are willing to not drink at 3 of the 4 parties and eat before 2 of the 4 dinners, like you're just not going to make that great of progress. It's just the way it goes, so. Yeah. But that's better than gaining 5 or feeling like, your liver needs a detox by Christmas Eve. So it depends on what the result is that you desire. We can reverse engineer that. But for a lot of people, it's just proving to themselves that they can operate differently in an environment that they've standardly, structurally, historically been completely different.
Totally. Yeah. The preconceived notion that people have around being healthy or like behaving a certain way at a corporate event are such bullshit. It's like, I hear all the time from my peers, they're like, oh, I had this client thing, so I had to drink at that. And it's like, why? Like, maybe if you wanted to, if you felt like it was worth it to you and your plan or whatever, your goals are to have a couple of drinks, then like, I'm not going to knock you for that, but like, you don't have to drink. And like, I think it might've been on one of these podcasts, or like maybe you said it to me one off, when you start to think about like the people that you waste those bullets on, right? Like if you're out to dinner with someone it's purely transactional, and they're a colleague that like, you, quite frankly, for your business, like need to spend time with. Yeah. Why the fuck are you going to have 10 vodkas? Like, just save that for when you're with your friends and like the people that you actually want to have 10 drinks with, or like, do what you need to do and handle your business. I understand that maybe it's awkward or it's not super natural for you to be like, oh, I'm not drinking. I totally understand that. So like A, like maybe have 1 drink. Or B, like, I promise you, no one cares. Like literally no one cares. I can't tell you how many times I rarely will drink at a work event, unless it's my call that it's sort of it clears the bar that I have set for an event that I want to drink at, because I feel like I'm having a good time with the people I'm with, because there's plenty of people in this business or in my business that, fall under that umbrella. But there's a lot of reps out there that have that. I'm like, yeah, we can just have a dinner or have like a discussion, and it doesn't need to involve an entire bottle of Tito's or whatever. There was definitely a period in my life where I didn't always behave that way. Part of it was anxiety. Part of it was a little bit of maybe self-confidence, but sort of back to the systems we put in place. A lot of that helped me, mature along those lines, because I wanted to make my fitness a priority. And when I made those poor decisions the night before, it made making my fitness a priority really, really challenging.
Yeah. Another thing I think you're alluding to, or you're saying, is there's tremendous power in proving to yourself that you can do something, having evidence that you can do something. Most of the time I find that when people that I work with or that I talk to or whatever struggle in an environment, in a particular situation, they just fall back on their historical behavior. Like, to your point, this is what I've always done. It's like, you just don't have the evidence yet. And so there is an element to this where you're going to have to take a few steps and not exactly know what type of environment you're stepping into. How is it going to feel when you just order a club soda, Diet Coke or whatever? Like, what's someone going to say? It's like, and now you and I have had hundreds of encounters where, just exactly what you said, people don't care. They literally do not care. In fact, as I've said before, and I know that you've experienced, oftentimes the people around you will be like, you're not doing that? I'm not going to do that either, because shit, I didn't really want to do that. I was just going to do it because I figured you were going to do it too. You realize how a lot of us are just sort of sleepwalking through a decade or 2 decades of previous behavior or societal or cultural norms based on, our professions or where we live or whatever it may be, when it doesn't have to be that way. And as soon as you have a little bit of evidence, you can repeat it. And when you have a little bit, you can create a lot. And then you're just going so far away from where you have been that I can't envision a world that I return back to the things that I used to do with the frequency that I used to do them, because I have too much evidence to suggest that this way is just as fun. My relationships are even better. My life is way better. And why wouldn't I want that? Why wouldn't I want to continue to improve upon that? So I think it's sometimes just people proving to themselves that they can do it because they've told themselves the story that their job is a certain way, their demands on their career are a certain way. They have to do these people that they hang out with only do these things. And very, very rarely is that true.
Yeah, that's well said. I think people in general appreciate when anyone is genuine, or like you present your whole self to someone. I think people really respect that. So if part of that offering is like, hey, I'm just trying to get in better shape, or I'm trying to pay attention to things or some things that I've ignored the past year or so, anyone who like chirps you for, I don't want to make a generalization, but they're probably a fucking loser.
Yes.
I forget if I want to curse on this or not, but that's,
we already have, so you're good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So what's next for you, man? Before I let you go back to work, make some money.
What's next? I'm proudly going to answer that question. It's like, I don't know. Like throughout this whole like marathon training thing, I've been saying to people that have asked like, how's training going? And training went great, but like, I'm just pumped to like not have anything on the calendar that's big, and wake up, get my fitness in, go to work hard, hang with my fam. I'm a simple guy, like probably the last podcast or two that we did, I answered that question with like, oh, I'm going to do rocks or whatever like nothing. I'm glad that nothing's on the calendar, and I'm just going to kind of do my thing and enjoy, my kids and my weekends.
Yeah. I think you've figured out that mastery is found in the mundane, as they say. And
Yeah.
a pretty cool recipe to create even more success. And if something cool comes up on the calendar, you'll go for it. And if it doesn't, you'll continue to fall in love with the thing.
I said to my wife recently, I don't know if she loved this. I want to get my handicap down again. It's a little too high. I want to be more dangerous on the golf course. So maybe, although the last time you and I were partnered, we were pretty dangerous.
You were
We got to run that back.
I just had to get you the ball in that rapid help. That's it.
Yes.
Oh, bro, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on.
Anytime.
If anybody, you have a pretty active social media, so where can people start to pay attention to you?
Yeah, I'm less active than I used to be, but always love connecting with people. Instagram is mcluke66. And honestly, like throughout the whole arc of this thing, some of the things I enjoy most are talking to people who are close to me, or some that just know me through social, about things that I do that work for me that can maybe help them in some small way, whether it's being a more present dad, or a little bit more attentive to themselves, or I spend a lot of time in my new sauna, so if they have sauna questions, I'm always happy to answer those questions. But I'm always happy to be a normal guy resource for anyone that doesn't know where to go.
Not many better normal guys out there, dude. I appreciate you. Thank you, man.
Thanks, dude.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here next week. Appreciate you guys.